Ready to go with everything.
Okay.
We are live.
Yes. Let me see here how it's going. If it was okay. Let me see. Yeah, that's okay. Hello, guys. Hello, everyone. You're on live. And let me just open the YouTube just to see. Okay. Got it. Now I can see. Ah! Okay, I can see this both of chat in YouTube and Twitch, and that's okay. Now we can start. Today, the live is a little different because we have a member of community. Here we have Jen, and we have another guest, Nicolas, and we talk about some topics like open source. We have other topics like international careers, and it's a little different. We don't just code. And that's it. We can introduce yourself, guys.
Okay, so I start. Hello, everybody. My name is Jan Dvorak. I am from Prague, Czechia. I'm known as Storyteller CZ in the social media space and on GitHub and within the community. And I am a long-term Meteor.js contributor.
Hey all, I'm Nicolas, and I'm from Brazil. I'm living in Florianopolis, and I've been working with software engineer for the last 5 years and doing some open source contributions, and after talking with you all today.
And just another explanation. If everyone in chat wants to send a question and a little shy to answer or write in English, you can write in Portuguese and we translate it. Don't worry. And let's start the topics. Let me open here. I'm a little nervous, guys. Sorry. Because it's my first live here for Meteor. And that's it. I'm just doing live for my channel. And I'm just talk part of time in Portuguese. So that's it. Let me take a little water. Okay. So about communities. I'm a little recent in this topic because I do a career transition. So before to start in this area, I work about communication. I worked as a TV producer. So working with technology is new for me. It's a new things, and work with communities and see something like this is something cool because it's I don't know how to expressions. How can I say this? I don't know.
Feel free to say it in Portuguese, and maybe Nicolas can help out.
Yeah, how can I say? Nicolas, tipo assim, tem uma grande de uma comunidade e são muitas pessoas interagindo juntas para fazer uma coisa acontecer e tirar ela do papel para, sabe, levar para frente. E isso eu acho muito interessante, muito legal. E era uma das coisas que eu não via na comunicação social, porque não tinha como trabalhar um produto ou alguma coisa assim, sabe? Eu acho que era isso que eu queria falar e eu não estava conseguindo.
Yeah, basically she's saying that open source and tech is awesome because even though there's like no one like really vouching for it, there's like a lot of people involved to get something like true, and then people can use and like do new things. So, and this was not like a thing in her previous working area.
You can say, I think it's working with open source. It's a beautiful thing. It's inspiration.
Go ahead, Nicolas. You want to say something?
Oh, actually, I was just translating what you said
Okay.
in Portuguese. Sorry, can you do the question again? I'm not following. Can you hear me?
So yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
Sorry,
good.
guys. So I started with the first question. So telling all this story, I discovered the open source, make this career transition, okay, and I want to ask you, Jen, Ian, sorry. How did you discover the open source world, and how can you tell us and share your experience with the open source?
Let's see. It's been, for me, I've started developing web pages since I was about 7 years old. That's when I had like my first HTML web page with a lot of
Dearly.
scrolling things. So it was like at a summer camp, and I just loved creating that and got hooked. And eventually, as I grew older, I wanted to code more. So I then started with what the software, or what was called United Nuke, which was a version of PHP Nuke to manage kind of your own website. I think somebody archived that website for some reason, and it might be available in some archive, the first one I made. So I started with that, and that was an open source, but I wasn't still coding. And when I started coding, I pretty much, or it was like I occasionally did some like PHP script. But when I started coding like in a serious manner, I immediately jump into open source, and that was back then. I think maybe the earliest versions of GitHub or something like that, very early on. Really cool. And I started with CodeIgniter, which was not sure, Nicolas, if you know CodeIgniter. Also, that's so that was actually it still is. It still is available on GitHub. It has a new management from the previous owner as well. So it's a nice, neat PHP framework. That's where I started. And I started. I don't think I actually contributed to CodeIgniter. Actually, we might possibly check if I can find myself there. But I did. Oh man, this brings me back. I did like. If I'm somewhere in here, probably not, or maybe this is not close enough. But I did run with some other people, so not to connect directly, but I ran something called A3M, which was kind of like the basic account setup from that. And that's kind of how I first got started with open source, because the original person who built it wasn't around anymore. So I picked it up, started contributing to that, started evolving that. And then, of course, during my university years, I did also some other big things. But when I transitioned to my master's and was looking for what technology to use for my master's project, then I was starting like, okay, let's let's look outside of CodeIgniter. Let's see what else is outside of PHP. And I think a year back, I heard grumbling about Meteor. And around that time, when I was choosing, there was the Meteor Night, which was the release of Meteor 1.0. And then I jumped kind of to Meteor because I found it so much, well, of course, there was the wow effect. So I jumped into that and finished my master's degree with it. And following that, eventually I started to participate more and more within the Meteor community. So for me, I have been always, I would say, in the open source world and open source communities. So for me, the idea that you just code something just for yourself, or you cannot keep it hidden unless you actually it's a company and you are making money out of it, that just seems very strange to me and doesn't make sense. And why wouldn't you want to utilize the option to have it out there, and maybe somebody fix up some things that you cannot fix up, or add an improvement that you haven't thought of. So that's how I came to it.
And you, Nicolas, how
Yeah,
did you start it?
I don't remember like the timeline in specific when I've like realized that open source was a thing. But yeah, like when I started programming, I was just like doing the challenges and exercises that I was seeing like in YouTube, and then I imported some magic things on the code, and then something like really basic and really fundamental to the thing happens. But I didn't realize that someone needs to do this and need to code this to like be true. So when I don't remember, like I was having like an issue with like a really old Python library, and I was searching and found nothing. But then I found like the code of the library, and I realized, okay, the code is somewhere, and I can like try to read the code and fix this thing. So yeah, it was basically this. I found like the code of the lib, fix it for myself, and like I wasn't really familiar with open source and even like work in a company professionally, so I haven't know what like a pull request is or something. So yeah, I've just like tried to push the code, and I was okay. I can't push the code. I don't own this repo. So yeah, I was searching on the web like how can I send a request for someone to change something, and yeah, then I came across open source issues, pull requests, and yeah, did this like pull request change and got accepted and fixed the bug. So this was like really happy, and realized like another part of coding for me, because there are people that are like receiving nothing and doing the backbone for everything. So that's how amazing open source is.
I think the one most hard parts for me is understand and search things on GitHub. I'm lost some things, and I try. Yes, I need to study more, but okay, it's part of process, and that's okay. Um, um,
Yeah,
one more thing.
just a small
Oh,
tip for this. Like there are some labels in the issues that you can search for. For example, there's one that's really common, Git first issue. That's like one really easy to get across the repo and like know more about it. So that's might be like what you're searching for to contribute to something.
Yes. Also, I would say in general, once you kind of pick up your technologies, you kind of stay in those repositories or those organizations, and only go out if you are like exploring or stuff. So then once you get to know the repository, once you get to know the organization, it becomes very easy to navigate around.
oh, okay. We'll try this. When I was studying to when I started studying to make my career transition, I study a little bit for see a little things to GitHub, but I need to improve this and see more deep things in this. That's it. So let me see. Chat. Do you remember the first contact with open source? Let's see. I think I forget to put a lo-fi, but I don't will put the lo-fi music. Don't worry, don't worry.
That's fine. I think it's kind of interesting trying to remember back when you started. The original feelings, what you were looking for, what brought you to it, and it's also looking at it like very back. It's like very strange to me now thinking, seeing especially other people who never interact with open source, that I just happen to go in and uh, just started using open source. Maybe one of the things was because it was for free, so you could just grab it and use it, and have to worry about licenses. But I think we have a response now in the chat.
Let me see here.
So I'll read it. Do you guys think it's important to take a look at the whole code, or at least a great context, before trying to develop something on open source, or just get on coding right away? Well, the first thing, the question is, what are you trying to do? That's with it. So when I first started looking, for my master's thesis, was I had like a clear parameter. It needs to be easy. I just need to run it, be able to show it, and I had like certain specifications. I knew I could use CodeIgniter for it, but I wanted to see if there was something better. And then for me, it was Meteor fulfilled the criteria. Also, it had the wow effect. It had some interesting technology which I could utilize, which up to them was extremely difficult or annoying to build by itself. So I took it, tried out some of few of the examples, and then run with it. I don't think you necessarily have to look at the whole code. If you look at the big projects like React, then you are just going to spend days just looking at the code, and you're not really going to get anywhere. For you, what's important is even little thing like, okay, what's the license? Can I use it without a problem? Won't there be any problem? What are the, for me, example, another thing is dependencies, because I don't want a package that imports 100, 200 dependencies. It preferably I would like to have that smaller. But those are things that you are going to develop as you experience more things. And I think the code itself, unless there's like something very specific you're looking at, is not that important. It's more of the, I would say, API would be the thing. Is it easy to develop with? Are you going to have fun? Are you not going to want to kill yourself afterwards? So at least that is it for me.
Yeah, I agree with everything you say, Ian. And something that I like to do when trying to do something with open source is I go like backwards. So I have an objective, either like fixing a bug or performance of something, and then I try to go straight to it, adding like a bunch of console logs, seeing if I'm reaching the right code path, and then looking at like where the bug is or where it's getting like really slow to improve. So I don't think like trying to read the whole code and then coding like a little bit. You can just like do one line change. Uh, yeah, and you probably like when you are reading the raw code, you probably won't understand most part of it. So it will be like not optimal time.
Indeed.
We have another question here too. how to deal with the feeling that you are spamming or annoying someone when you create an issue or open a PR in an open source repository?
So this depends on, I would say, the repository in many aspects. Always read the contributing document that tells you how to do it properly. In general, first of all, always check if there isn't an issue open or something similar. For me as a maintainer, it's nothing more annoying that if 10 people each post individual issue about the same issue, because that's waste a lot of my time. Instead, it's better if you see a similar issue or the same issue and post, yes, I have the same problem, here's maybe a reproduction, or you add some additional detail that might be missing from the previous post that you have encountered, because that helps us identify faster the issue. And of course, having a reproduction is super helpful. And I would say then also depends if you are submitting for PRs, if it's a fix or a feature. If it's a new feature, it's usually better to open up an issue and ask if that is something that should be in the package itself or the core, or if that's maybe something that might be a plugin somewhere else. That's sometimes a discussion on the Meteor repository as well. Okay, is this something that the functionality that we want in the core, or is it better to have it as an independent package somewhere else?
Yeah, I agree, and I think like the most important thing is first like ask opening the issue or seeing like if it's there like an issue that people already discussed it, because yeah, you waste a lot of time of the maintainers trying like to just group the things. So yeah, and yeah, always be like polite and don't say bad things with the maintainers. They don't give money and are doing the thing. So yeah.
Yeah, yelling at them, this is not working, or this is a piece of ass, the stuff that's not going to get you anywhere, or demanding that they add some specific feature. That's the shortest way for them to put you off and not really care about you at all.
Yeah, I agree. That's it. Let me see here. One more comment. Let me put here. My first experience with OSS was pushing a jQuery toast plugin to GitHub. Like a year later, I got a PR from someone. It was really like kind of surreal experiences that someone else was interested in code that was had written. Okay. That's a curious fun fact. I code one time, I think once time, jQuery. And I thought, why not? Let me try. I don't use jQuery once. And it's the worst thing I did. Because I want to build a tic-tac-toe, and I want to use only JavaScript. But I searched for tutorials, and I searched this one using jQuery. And I think, why not? Oh God. No. It's the worst thing I did.
Funny story, jQuery was actually coded by students to university I went. So I have kind of this connection to it. And it was interesting because today jQuery and underscore Lodash, these libraries are not as important or not as required as they used to be. Like, because when I started with JavaScript, they were everywhere for everything because they filled in a lot of things that today we have official APIs for. We didn't have query selector or anything like that. You had to use jQuery for that. And actually, one of my university courses the first assignments was to do a lot of manipulation on the page, and you could not use jQuery or any of the other library. And I think like a third class quit after that, because it was so difficult back then, and it was quite a challenge, because I said a lot of the things that jQuery made easy back then today are in the official JavaScript API. So it's a very different world.
And yeah, like as you mentioned, like Lodash and underscore, all those libs were like basically required back like 4 or 5 years ago. But today, if you use someone, will blame you. So yeah.
Oh God. So I have another question here, but I think it's like the same. Is when did you have the first contact with technology? I think it's a general question because we have the first contact with technology really early, I think. Like I have my first cell phone when I don't remember when I was 10 years, 9 years old. But since 3 years old, I can't remember, but I watch VHS alone. It's a technology, but it's old technology.
Nicolas,
mean-
I'll get you first now.
Yeah, so I don't remember like when specifically I've like started um, uh, using computers because my dad was like teaching informatics in school. So he always like I always had like computer at home. So I've always like played games and those things. But I can specifically remember the first time I've like saw coding and those things. I remember like I was trying to um, do like a mathematical operation like of adding and then multiplying on the calculator, like the computer calculation. But I haven't managed to it because it doesn't have parent brackets in that time. So I've started like, oh, can I create my own calculator? So I've like searched on Google and found like a C++ tutorial, and it was like 7 or 8 years, I don't remember. So I started like writing the same thing the guy on YouTube and the new guy, of course, uh, uh, was typing, and then I've typed it like on the IDE and then compile it, and it was working. But I have like no clue what is going on, and I remember it was like 30 lines of code, and I was running to my dad. Oh, hey, Dad, I've write a program to do calculations, and it's 30 lines of code. It's really difficult, but I like haven't know anything about what it's doing. So I've got like really interested to it, and also I was playing like a lot of games. I was like a kid, so I started like to search about like cheats and hacks, and yeah, I came across like Cheat Engine, which you can manipulate like memory from games and processes. And yeah, I started like writing some small programs to manipulate those games I was playing and get like infinite cache or something. So yeah, this was like how I discovered programming. And after some time, uncle gave me an Arduino, which is like a board that you can program and then connect with electronic device, such as like a light or plug in some sensors and do some cool things like car control it by itself, or like turn on your lights with clapping your hands. So yeah, it's also C++. So I started learning it in YouTube and bought some sensors like to try it out and discover some things. And yeah, I realized that this was the thing that I wanted to do for my life and to work with. So since then, I never stopped like studying, always searching for like these languages and mainly like games hack. And yeah, when I was like 15, I probably like started with web development and then got like some jobs. So yeah, since then working in this field.
Nice. It's with me. Just funny story. I just found my first game that I played in the DOS world. So I must have been like 4 or 5, and that's kind of where I first got with computers. So my dad was an engineer, so he had a computer, and pretty much everybody around me was into technology. So must have gotten that like very early. And one of the first games I played was Settlers 2 back in the DOS era, and I still have that game available on my computer for old time's sake. And so that's kind of how I got started. So of course, as like with you, Nicolas, with games, was kind of the first thing. And as I mentioned before, around the age of 7, that's where I first discovered that you can actually do more than just play games on computer, and that's when I discovered web development. And yeah, that's how I really got started on, and it never really left me. Or pretty much I'm always around computers and doing stuff like that. Maybe too much for my own detriment. Not ashamed to admit that's something I need to work on to get out more. And yeah, it's I don't know, for me it was always like magic, like I can just add say 2 words or something and change the background of a website. And uh now, and I think also it was in a way web development was, I found it more approachable than say the other options at that time. It's where you actually had to like, and the I would say primarily because it was more visual. Because then back then, if you wanted to do other programming languages, that then the earliest thing that you could do something visual was to output it in a console and maybe change the color of the output, and it was really not inspiring for me to work with. And I had that problem in like even later on when I tried to learn C++ in university. I just like compared to web development, I am not. I understand why it's important and all that stuff, but it's not for me. So
Yeah, that's funny because I've started like in the other side. So I
yeah,
was like always more like backend and those things. And then I needed to like start learning HTML and CSS. I was like freaking out trying to memorize the CSS classes. So it was always easier to me to work on the backend. But yeah, after some time dealing day by day with frontend, I got it. But it was really hard for me.
yeah. Well, I would say backend has its magic that you just get input and you return usually something out. With front end, there's a lot more things going out. And back then, it was also for the veterans with us, if you remember, table designs and all those things that we tried to do before we had flex classes and all the other uh, now modern CSS things. So there is a lot of it has moved a lot. So it's very interesting. And this day, I would say it can also be overwhelming if you try to start, because back then it was super simple and we had super simple websites. Uh, so today it's a very, very different beast, but I still, like it because even with all this thing, you can start very simple and just build yourself up very easily.
Sorry. Came more people in chat. Hey, Esther, Daniel, Daniel. Hey, guys.
Yeah.
So in the moment we talk about technology and how the technology came in your lives. Um, I think I don't know how we can continue. I think the chat can answer how technology came to your lives.
So let's see what they have up.
Lucifer
See
games,
there.
yeah.
That's how I started as well, and
I
Yeah, I
think
think it's
most
the
part of
most,
devs,
yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, it was really funny because like once you realize that you can only do like these cheats and this hacks in offline games, but when you get through online games was like really more difficult. So I've stopped it and yeah, try to focus on really pro gaming. So yeah.
indeed.
Yeah, also something really common in Brazil was people trying to develop like Minecraft servers. So yeah, you can find like also developers that were developing these things. So yeah, probably like I've worked with one or two later on, and I discovered, oh, I was in like your Minecraft server before, and we started chatting like everyone was playing in his server, and yeah, it was really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think because I started on like adults games, then big game I played was Operation Flashpoint, and I think that's maybe were kind of the first time, kind of the creation side. Well, actually, it was around the same time as I started looking into doing website as well. But one of the big part for me was there the editor where I could just start and place things on the map and run around and do stuff. So for me, it was much more fun just creating my own little villages or camps than just playing the game. So that's very strange.
Fred was our CEO. My dad said computers are the future. You should study that. Yes. That's
Well,
pretty
that
easy.
that sounds like a some Asian family. You're going to be a doctor. Why are you a doctor yet?
Yes.
I had it the maybe the other way around. It was kind of my parents saw that I liked working around computers, so they just kind of put me on that career path because I liked it and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think the technology here. My father started building computers with me after building an Apple. Sorry. Um, oh,
Apple II.
that's cool.
Wow, that's way more advanced than I had it. Though I also built some computers as well, so but that's nothing probably as advanced as that.
Me and my father just plant a tree. That's it. Oh god. Okay. Now, early here in the life, we talk about communities and there's quality time as well. Yeah. We talk about communities and in open source, we can build some um, big communities. And guys, how can I say that? How did you see as the biggest difficulty to participate in a community in an open source world?
Nicolas, since I started previously, I'll leave it to you to start.
Okay. Yeah, like I think it's hard when you don't are like really into it. So, for example, you're just trying to contribute to a random cool open source project, but you are not using it day by day, and you not know the caveats and like what's bad, what's good. So you just like drop it like from a plane there, and you don't know like what needs to be done. So I think if you, in some sort of way, it's involved day by day. It's easier because you can share your own thoughts and then contribute to the community. Because I think a community is good when everyone is using the thing and sharing his own thoughts and get like really organic feedback and from yourself, like really honest, not like someone else forming an opinion and then someone, oh, this framework is not good and all these things. So I think getting part of a community when you are involved with it is the most easiest way and more productive because in other hand if you don't it's familiar with the attack or are you just trying to contribute and like commit random code, you're not going like nowhere. So yeah, I think getting involved is the way to get into a community.
Yeah, I think now that I know, or looking back, also, first thing as Kelly mentioned there, one of the obstacles was learning Git. So kind of having the minimal technological knowledge to be able to contribute, and with that, especially when it comes to GitHub and submitting code, that's kind of necessary to have. Tools like GitKraken and other make it super easy and visualize everything for you. So that's kind of how we can get around a lot of the, say, problems. But then for contributing or being part of the community or becoming part of the community, I would say one of the big thing is or was fear that I am not ready to be part of it, not to be, and kind of it's always like the first step is always the difficult. So uh, really, I would say here, or at least for me, kind of writing the first comment, opening the first thread, opening the first issue, opening the first pull request. That was super difficult, but once you get over that, then it becomes easier the more you do it. And I would kind of have here a message for everybody is, don't be afraid. Or if you are like really unsure, uh, meetings like these, like videos like these, jump into chat, say hello, get the first initial, interactions, and just build up on that. Uh, Jump into the forums, create a thread, or comment on something. You might fear that you have nothing, to say, to add. There's a lot of topics that you can go in and just maybe say a few words of nice things, or say, oh, think, oh, this was really cool, thank you for adding this. Start with that people will notice you, that you exist, and then it's like like a jump scare if you show up next time. It's like, oh, who is this person, especially if you are maybe jumping into an important discussion, if you have at least some history contributing, or maybe writing on the forums, even if it's just like, oh, thank you for sharing the article, stuff like that. It becomes then easier to make the next step.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing in community open source is maintaining all the community engaged when takes a long time, because when the comes a new thing, a new feature, or a new update, or anything else new, is it's easy to engage it, it's easy to share, and anything else. But when times is how can I say, it's going and going, I think the community was, Nicolas, me ajuda, vai deixando pra lá.
Getting
Yeah,
cold. Maybe.
getting cold, and that's a little sad because we need to make work to ai meu Deus do céu, we need to make a work to this, make a work to this work, right? But we don't have a feedback from community. So this part, only this part, I think is a little bit sad. But other parts, I think that's okay in the community. And I think participating and contributing, writing articles, it's really good because this, how can I say, this shows for other people that you are really interested in the product, in the community, and to contribute. And that's really important.
And yeah, like articles are nice as well because you write once and it's like for the lifetime, so people can see
Exactly.
anytime.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, it's a good time and a bad thing because as the technology improves and API changes, then you will get like years later comment, this example doesn't work, stuff like that. So that I think why it's also especially important to always check the date of the article and or the video or whatever you're watching at, because technology changes very fast, and I'm not surprised if somebody gets dizzy just by the rate of change. Because if you don't look for a while and then suddenly look back, it's something completely different. And kind of I think to this to engagement, it is much more easier to get engaged with smaller communities because there's less people, so your contributions are going to pop up and be more visible. While if you are like in a big community, if you try, for example, to write article or kind of make yourself more visible, say in React, then there is a couple of million people out there writing about React and all that stuff. So it's going to be much more difficult. In this way, right now, Meteor is, you could say, from the interest of the general community or general JS community in a slump. So it's all not as prominent. But I believe that with Meteor 3, that might change. So now is a good time to jump in to kind of maybe start building your brand or to get to be known by the people who have been there for a while. And that's another thing, especially like with Meteor, we value loyalty as well, because we are not on the hype train anymore. That's kind of how Meteor started. There was a hype train, a lot of people coming in, and then when React came out and the hype train moved to that, everybody, of course, jumped to there and so on. So if you come in and stick with the Meteor community for a while, just by the nature of being there for longer and sticking to it when everybody was saying how bad it is, which happens when the hype train leaves, no matter the technology, then that you are going to get a lot of positive points just for that. And especially, if the technology does what you want it to do, then unless you are, I could say a technological influencer who reviews technologies, why would you go, or why would you constantly rework your projects with something new? At least, that's, I would say, is the kind of the general attitude of the Meteor community. We are here to build application, not to constantly rebuild stuff with and apply the new the new hype thing and constantly rework all that stuff. So we want to build application and features.
Nicolas, do you want to say something?
Yeah, so I think, oh, just let me pause my Slack. It's just popping up 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah, so like this is not only for like tech, but for everything. I'm like used to join the photography communities and like pretty into cameras and those stuff. So it's really common. Like a group of friends start doing something, then sometime after it just like gets cold and no one's more talking about. So it's really hard like to get a community really engaged, as Jan said. um, Getting to smaller communities is really good because everyone is know each other's and you know the maintainer, you know who are using this, and you can help out and even join like the company as like an open source engineer or something. So yeah, and about this hype train thing, I have a friend who's his first job was like senior because he was learning React like before getting launched like in the beta. So his first job was like, okay, I'm the only guy who knows React in the city. So yeah, that's it. It's like a good career tip to see if something there's like raising, and then you get into this hype train. Sometimes you need to be careful because it won't like get the hype you expected, or the technology will die really, really soon. But yeah, it's just like a matter of luck, and try, and if you believe in something, try to go for it and see what sticks. And yeah, like writing articles and producing content about tech that's like going to rise is really amazing because you become like an authority on it. So people start like to asking you, and yeah, it's pretty easier to companies find you as well. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. Early in podcast for community with Jump, we talk about this engagement for community, and we talk about to people starting. How can we say changing for Meteor 3? Enter changing. I how can I
Yeah,
say? I don't
upgrading.
remember. Yeah, that's really fun, really interest because new people can new no I don't know
Yeah.
no Meteor and enter to community, and we can movement it more. Let me do something here in chat. How much the people know Meteor? How, let me see.
And if you know Meteor, how long have you been with Meteor?
Yeah.
I know Kelly that's Copley KJ there. He has been with Meteor for almost the beginning, I believe. He's the author of Socialized Packages, also probably the first package that I started like really using intensely and really helped me get on. And I'm thinking if maybe that might have been also my first contribution to Meteor ecosystem as a whole, doing some PR to his packages.
Do you remember when it was?
Oh, yes. I wouldn't even know which one of those packages, because what it is, it's a ecosystem of, it's called Socialize, and it's a package, so it provides you the basic social network stuff out of the box. So you want private messages, add this package, boom, you have that. Do you want a feed, add another package, you have that. You want friends, you add that, and you can have then friending, all that stuff. So it's a lot of packages around it, and I started using. I think it might have also been one of the things that kind of made the deal for me for Meteor, because part of my project was that, of course, I'll have some of the social functionality there, like feed, private messages, all that stuff. So boom, I have here packages that does it for me, and I don't have to even think about it. So that's I think also where I started contributing, which is like also back to the previous one. If you want to start, you don't have to start on the main project. If it's like something bigger like Meteor, you can start with one of the smaller packages around, and eventually make your way in, which is what I did. So that's like to that. So that's Kelly there. Hi, Kelly.
I think chat don't.
Maybe we just let me double check if we don't have a bug here.
Okay. So just recap all the topics that we just talk now. We started talking about what? My memory is awful.
How we discovered the open source, and
Yeah, discovering our open source. Okay. And we talk about our experiences and what more?
Difficulties getting started in community.
Yeah. Talk about this, and we talk about the start of technology with each other. What more?
I think that's pretty much it.
I think that's it. Yeah. As you can see, my memory is terrible.
Well, it's over 50 minutes of stuff, so this is where the class would end.
Yeah. Oh, so now, okay. 1 minute. Chat. Anyone here? Put 1 in chat. That's weird. I think everyone is on lurk.
Yeah, they are. As usual, you play it in the background.
yeah, they're developers, they are coding and listening in their life.
Yeah. Okay, don't worry. Let's continue here. This live will be keep on YouTube and here on Twitch. And now we talk about international career and roadmaps for studying and a little tips. So to start this topic, I want to quest. I want to quest for Nicolas. Is there an ideal roadmap for this? Who wants to start studying for international career, or we just start studying English, for example?
Yeah, I would say there's like no really recipe book for this. I'll talk mainly about our reality in Brazil because it's might different from other countries. Basically, there are two kind of ways that it can be hired as an engineer, like working in Brazil, remote for a international company. One is being a contractor. We have like a media company that can be either an outsourcing, a consultancy that will hire you and then manage you to work in a team for another client, or you can be hired directly. That's what I call full-time employment. So yeah, those are like really different process in general, because mostly when you are going to apply as an employee for the company, you are like a high skill developer that they haven't found in the country, or in the country is much like expensive, so they want to hire someone for other country that has like a good experience and it's like worth in terms of money. So these usually are like more specific roles, like more senior. So you need to study a lot of system design aspects and data structures, algorithms, and those things, which is like pretty different from Brazilian processes, at least the one I've taken, because I haven't seen much of this algorithms and data structures, but yeah, mostly system design. So, for example, like how you do design in e-commerce or some sort of like storage, YouTube. These are like really common interviewing cash questions. And yeah, for contractors, I'm working as a contractor today at Axting. I'm working like in a client that's like a financial broker. So yeah, hired to them and then like managing me to work in another team. So yeah, like in this process, you have basically like two steps, one of with like consultancy or outsourcing, and the other one with the actual client. So with outsourcing is more to get to know you and have like a technical assessment to see if you are not lying in your resume or LinkedIn. So yeah, and then you follow straight with the client to see like the process. Like each one will be different, so you don't have a rule. But mine was more like conversations to share experiences and see if it's like aligned with the role. So yeah, I would say something that's like good and not to be really afraid, because something that Brazilians tend to be really afraid it's about the accent when speaking English, but we have like a lot of accents even in Brazil. So don't worry about it. Everyone will understand you. Almost like you can understand other people and people can understand you, you are fine. You don't like to be the perfect English. I like do a lot of mistakes and still working there. So I think it will get way better once you start getting involved in English and immerse in that day by day. So yeah, I would say like give a shot. Try like to get the basic vocabulary and how to express yourself, mainly like technical. So yeah, there are some platforms that you can chat with teachers and have like live conversations in Brazil. There's one pretty famous which is called Cambly. I've used it as a lot to train for interviews, and it helped me mainly to a lot. I was like good at reading and watching YouTube videos, but when it comes to like actually speaking right, I was not like good like building the sentences and the things. So this helped a lot me, and yeah, I think it's basically like trying to get the minimal English you what you need to understand the others and express yourself, and the other hand is like going technical and searching for the specific company, what they require, how what is the kind of interview, and review these topics before getting into it.
Yeah, that's a lot of things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, sorry. I usually talk a lot. Sorry, guys.
What do you think this process? How can I say? Here in Brazil, we need to do a lot of things and improve our English and uh, um, study and improve our English and other things. And how can you say to international careers for uh, the same question? Okay, the same question.
So you want to ask me that?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is, I think, you know, English is the first. Uh, English is the first step that you need to get. It's not just that you can communicate, but it's also that you can read the documentation, that you can write the code better, because unless maybe some abstract programming language, all the programming languages are written in English. Uh, so having good English is the first necessary step that you really need to get down to. You might be able to get away with just learning, say the technical English, so absolute minimum. But if you are like going to learn the language, just go all the way in, because it helps then in everything later on in your life. Unless you like really decide, I'm going to just stay in my hometown and not go outside, not speak with the foreigners, or not going to watch foreign TV or anything like that. So English is the first step. It opens up pretty much the world, and especially with IT, you are most likely going to communicate with some people abroad at some time or another. So English is really cannot underline how important that is. And kind of the next step is, or maybe even like before that, is make sure that that you want to do this. So it's kind of like more first like a general thing. It's uh, programming. I would say you have to be a little bit special. Like that, how you want to do it, because sometimes it's a lot of fun, and sometimes you just after you are finished and somebody comes across you, just want to beat them with a big hammer, or because you had a tough day. So it's really important in that regard. And then going international, it's always difficult. I would say even before that, uh, what I often say is there's it's only a small percentage of the population who can live outside, say, of their hometown, and even smaller percentage who can live outside of their country. So if you want to travel, for work abroad and stuff like that, uh, expect that it's not going to be easy. Depends a lot on your upbringing, on your culture. Some cultures have it more difficult than the others, but there's also something called culture shock, which is important to know. So when you come to a new place, first you have the high, oh, this is so awesome, amazing, and then it goes down a lot, very down, where you just like, I just want to eat my mom's cooking, and can I not get my favorite drink in this town? What's wrong with people here? And then it goes like up, you discover something new, and then again down, up and down, up and down. So that's culture shock. It applies to a lot of other things. The same thing applies when you are learning things. So when you learn something new, it's like, oh, this is amazing, this is great, and then it's like a week or two later is, why won't it just print out hello world? What's wrong with this thing? So that's kind of like I would say, disclaimers that you need to be ready for those things. If you know about them, if you know what you are going into. So again, that's I ask, if you are, for example, applying to the company abroad, check out the profiles. If you know somebody, maybe at that company, reach out to them, ask them how it is, what is that, so that you can get the idea what it is. Because one of the big thing is the working culture in that company. So you need to know what you're getting into. If that is what you want, that's going to give you, I would say, a lot of kind of information and feedback. So that's on that. And then I think generally contributing to open source is a good uh, practice in preparing for the interviews, and it's also puts you on the map. So sometimes if they can then look on your GitHub and see, oh, I have you have a history with contributing to open source, then that makes the interview process easier. If we roll it back, if, for example, if you are just thinking about university, choosing the right university, the right subjects, and then depending also on your system of the school, is choosing also the correct, could say, non-required subjects as well, something that will give you, could say, the edge to be able to make it abroad. So which is of course language skills, maybe some cultural connection, but also maybe more deeper understanding of the technology. Because when you are going abroad, or if you want to work for a company abroad, if they are open to abroad people, you're competing against the entire planet for that position in theory. So having some, you could say, some edge, something special about you. And you could say, Jan, I am just out of university. I don't have any history. Like there's like nothing outstanding about me. Then figure out what that something should be, or maybe you usually figure it out as you contribute to open source in that aspect. And another big thing is a lot of developers are introverts. So if you have good communication skills, boom, that's your competitive edge there. And also comes back to the language skills as well. Being able to properly communicate. And then if you start, for example, looking up memes, looking up, being able to contribute or like to the discussion in the realities of, say, that culture that you are, or the target culture that you're going to get in. That's another one. And another big one is don't freeze. Even if you make mistake, laugh it off. Have be a good sport about yourself. The same thing applies when you make a mistake, for example, in the PR, or just it happens. Don't beat yourself too much about it. So it's like, okay, that was stupid, my apologies, or laugh it off, make a joke about it. So it's the little things that count. But even if you have all little thing and you don't have a good knowledge about the subject, then all these benefits are not going to help you. Or in the worst, or well, maybe in this case, good case, they might get you in, but if you don't really have the necessary minimum technical knowledge to get started, then it's going to find out soon, and then you'll be packing your bags and going home from that. But there's also this saying, fake it till you make it. So even if you go in and you are not that confident in your skills, go in, hit the ground running, learn, ask the seniors in the company for help. Ask, if figure out if there, for example, if that company has some sort of a mentoring system or something that you can get the information. And don't worry, it usually takes about 3 months when you enter a company until you kind of run a few times through the entire process, and get to used to, okay, this is the release process. This is how we go from reporting a bug to uh, going to designers, going to me, then sending it to QA and all this stuff. So it's going to take 3 months. It's going to be uh, it's going to take time for you to realize. And kind of from my first internship, a story there was just, I was like working and something, and some like guy pinged me, hey, there's something in PR that break the build. So I went to the guys, we tried to like solve it, and we reverted and everything. It was still broken, and eventually, as they pull everything out, we forgot it was like some API of some other service that we're using. So sometimes, even though it might first appear at the first sight, might be your fault. Not always, but being self-critical in this way helps. And in that case, I was like, okay, pull the bug fix that I made out, and see if that works, and I'll be over in a moment to figure out what's going on. So that's pretty much what I can think of. Yeah. So, and then of course be respectful and civil, especially like then it goes all into that particular environment. It becomes more difficult if you are doing everything remote, because, and then it's really, you need to get over the, at least I have it, kind of the initial feeling, I don't want to bother this person. It's like, you need to get in and write to people and bother them. And usually the senior guys, especially if they have some sort of mentoring system, or if they have more prior experience, which usually senior guys have, they will not mind that you are disturbing them. But you should also be make sure that if they have like an icon, do not disturb, or like they have like a programming session, that now is not the time, and come back later.
Yeah, Ian say something that's really good for taking interviews in international company, because yeah, you are competing with the whole planet. So yeah, recently when I've changed one of these clients, their stack was like really different from what I'm used on, and hasn't like any professional experience, was Go and Rest. So they were also trying to implement a GraphQL gateway, and I'm really into the GraphQL community. I've like did PRs to several libraries and did talks around there. So I was not like a good maybe hire to this Go and Rust thing, but I had like really much expertise in GraphQL, so I've sent this to them, and they really liked my profile, because they were like really trying to get this at the door. And I say that like I'm pretty comfortable knowing all these other technologies, and like I'm happy to go. So yeah, they really like it, like this graphical content, and they said, oh, okay, this guy knows something. He like contributed to the core, so I think he can be like a good fit, and we know like he has some proof of his work, so we can harden without like too much fear. So always having like this open source contributions in some like key fields that you might want to go in a row can be good, because it proves that you are like into it and you are like enthusiast of this technology. And this is pretty good for any company that wants to hire you. So yeah, do open source.
Yeah, I think we have some really nice comments as well here. So there's a lot of things, and I would say one last thing on this. If you're going for international career, kind of first things, why are you doing it? What is your goal with it? Do you just want to get more money, a completely valid goal, or do you want to experience, to go move to another country, or you just want to work for an international company. Having these things figured out, and of course they can change, but having these things figured out will allow you to be more focused, more direct, and with that also be able to get it, because you are not kind of running around like a headless chicken trying to figure out what's going on. You have a goal in mind that you want to achieve, and it also allows you to kind of be more direct with the people that can say, okay, I want to come here, work for 5 years, make it to this position. Once I make it to this position, I know that I can then work remotely from my home country, start a family. Figure out these things out, or helps you a lot. But of course, if you are beginning it, sometimes you might be struggling with that. Also, having some previous experience with that, which is part of figuring out what you want to do. So I would say probably the first thing after graduation is not, oh, I'm going to work to the international company, unless you have already that goal in mind. Get some local experience, and then look out for upgrading.
Yeah, something that's like nice to mention. It's like how it's in Brazil to work abroad, because I'm not sure you are in Europe, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Right now,
the chat really asked this about the goals.
so I kind of just for myself right now, operating all remotely from Czechia, but I'm planning to move to Japan, and I've been working before in America, here in Czechia, you could say, and kind of internationally, mostly because of how my companies were, and now it's
Yeah,
kind of
like
returning from that. And
yeah, like what I was going to mention, it's because like the Europe and like US dollars is close, like the currencies, but in Brazil it's like 5 times more. So if you're like
Yeah.
working abroad,
that's
you're like,
yeah, so
you,
that
you
kind of
like
gets into the question of money, as we had the
yeah,
question there. So what if my goal is only money? A fair goal, as said, if you are like in Brazil or anywhere where the cost of living is lower, and you can get into a company that operates from America and get their wages. One of the benefits is that you can ask for a lower pay, because even if you ask for lower pay, it still will make you rich, in wherever you're living. Then that's another advantage that you have. The problem, though, I see it, if you are doing it just for money, uh, things will become boring very quickly. That has happened to me, and so, but it's still possible. You just need to figure out how to work with that. Uh, Part of the problem is that unless you are kind of chasing a promotion, then it's going to negatively impact your motivation to perform and do stuff. So, and this is, for example, where open source come in. So you can have like an additional hobby that maybe you can connect some things. For example, if you're for Google and you can like every other Friday work on open source, then that can be a nice motivation for there as well. So it's all about how you set your priorities, how you set your motivation. So that plays, and I would say it's absolutely fair, because we all need to feed ourselves, feed our families, and have some place to stay, and that costs money. Worst part, as being as like open source maintainer, for me, is that when people want work for me, and or demand or feel entitled to it, and don't offer, say, any compensation for me to put the time into it, especially if it's something big, then that I don't need personally. So it's absolutely fine, to be motivated by money. That's what moves things around. That's the compensation for your time.
And we have a question for Nicolas now.
Why have you decided to step abroad? I'm Brazilian too, and I may have my theories about it given I teach English for developers. But I'd like to hear from you. Yes, as you probably know, like the mainly selling point for me to work abroad is you gotta win like 5 times more only in currency, and the like absolute value is close to Brazil. So if you like only get the numbers, the salaries are close. So you multiply your salaries by 5 just by changing the company you are working. And yeah, like as all Brazilians, yeah, probably don't understand this. We have this syndrome de vira-lata. It's basically like street dogs. We have a lot of Brazil, and we say that we are like just street dogs because we thought like Americans and anyone that speaks English is better than us. But once you really get into it and working abroad, you realize that everyone is human, everyone is coding and it's coding on the same language. So everyone is equal. And even people abroad really like Brazilians because as we like are winning a lot of money, we don't feel that we are like deserving it. So we really push forward to stay on the job and like stay there for years. So yeah, the first reasoning was money, and the second one to improve my English and getting day by day with it. To be honest, I was like more happy when working like in a previous Brazilian company that was like having a bigger impact in the whole Brazil. We're processing 30% of all the digital payments. But yeah, now I'm working on startups from a country that I've never um, stepped on. And yeah, I'm just coding and happy because the money can do things that I cannot do before, like travel in the world and meeting new teachers and having like good time with the ones that I love. So yeah, and one thing really back that I've just remembered now, you mentioned that the how much you miss your country, and when like you go abroad. And I was traveling the end of the year. I was in London, and the only thing that I want is to eat feijoada. You probably don't know what it is, but it's our Brazilian dish with black beans, pork, and it's really, really delicious.
Yeah.
So I was like 30 days without seeing the sun. I was like working like in Australian time zone, so I need to work like through the like 1 or 3 a.m. And yeah, I was never seeing the sun because it settles down like 2 p.m. So yeah, I was just like, oh gosh, I need to came back to Brazil, get all the dishes that I really like, and get some sun. And I'm not a person who likes like sun. So yeah, it was the first time that I realized that it's important. So yeah.
Yeah, teacher João saying the terrible Brazilian. He hates beans.
Yeah, you are a terrible Brazilian, indeed.
Yeah. I have a question for both of you. What's the biggest challenge to get started on an international career?
I think it's getting like on the first job because once you get it, the recruiters are going to find you easily, and you have like such a proof that your English, like people can communicate with you. Because if you're like 6, 8, 1 year in the company, you probably speak it a lot. So people have been like firing you if you were not going to express yourself in English. So yeah, I think like the hardest thing is getting the first job. And to get the first job, you need to get like a bare minimum English to communicate. And yeah, but my advice is just apply. I remember that I've like applied more than 100 holes when I was trying to get international. So yeah, never stop applying. And like the current company that I'm in was like the dream company that I've saw like in the video 5 years ago. And I've like, oh, when I finished the college, I wanted to join there, and I haven't even like joined the college, but I joined it there. So just apply, and yeah, I have like a good resume, some good proof of work outside your resume, like GitHub, give talks, write articles, and yeah.
Yeah, I think that's that for me. Since I studied in America, I pretty much started internationally, so can't really comment on that, because I just kind of been in that always. And I would say it's more difficult for me to get into a local company if I wanted to, because most of the time they don't offer the wages I'm used to.
Okay. For me, I think the biggest challenge was starting all the process to career transition, because I am in another career. I was a TV producer. I do nothing about technology, and I need to start over again. And that's it. I need to start study English. I always study English, but I need to enhance and improve more, and start study programming, technology, open source, and other things. And when I applied to this job, I was a little nervous, but in a level surreal, in a surreal level. But that's okay. It works, and now today I'm here. That's
Well,
okay.
was good that it was a little nervous. I was really, 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 really nervous. So yeah.
A little nervous. That's okay. Um, and I have another question. I think I have a question for chat. Let me see. I have two questions for chat. Here, for Jen.
Yes. So, do I have experience working with Brazilian people? Yes. Both in actually in my master's degree, we had a group project in my class, and we got kind of paired in groups of three. And one of the guys, and from that group, we stayed friends and had a lot of fun. And one of the guys is Brazilian. Right now, he works in Berlin, so I get to see him once in a while as well. So that was kind of from there. And of course, I one point shortly worked with very closely with, or kind of for as well, Meteor Software. So I worked with then CEO Felipe Nevola and other people in the company who are Brazilian as well. So yes, I have experience working Brazilian people.
And one more.
So is finding sponsors hard? That's because I also offer sponsorship on my GitHub, Storyteller CZ, so you can find it. And the answer is yes. Probably the first thing, I'm not that good at marketing as I probably should be. Second thing is it's very difficult to convince people to give money for something that they have for free, and to convince them that they should put in the money. It becomes like if I probably stop doing what am I doing, a lot of people would be probably not immediately, because the system I've helped to build are pretty robust. But if I and the other the maintainers stop working, people would soon become very surprised, why their application stopped working and other things, and then they would probably be angry, and maybe then they would offer money. But that's kind of the common issue with open source, that usually you don't see this, and it's very difficult then to convince, because of course it's out there for free. Why should we pay the people behind it when they are giving it out for free? We are companies, we don't have unlimited money, which makes sense. So that's why I always say the companies to be strategic in this, but and to support a project where they want to have some say or influence, or that are critical to their product. So and that is still, I think I'm not the only one who has the problem with this in the open source community, starting with the Linux Foundation. But thankfully with Linux they can make a very convincing case to big players like Google, who have infinite money and can throw around their way quite a big sums. But for the small developers, it's much more difficult. So, and I would really encourage everybody, if you are, in a good, position financially, and everything is stable, and you have that extra spare income, be your either if you are individual or if you are a company, look around, look for the developers. If you want to really make a difference, maybe find some of these smaller packages that have sponsorship open and help there. It's going to go a long way, especially now with AI coming in, being able to have more people working on open source full time or even part time. It's going to really speed up the development of everything as well. So not just like, for me, it would be like, great if I could spend, or be part-time on open source, because it's really interesting. It helps a lot of people. But there's other developers who probably might need it even more than me. So it helps in more ways than you can realize. And yes, as Kelly says there, the tragedy of comments. That's a very big issue, and I think that's for another big stream that we can have some other day, just discussing this issue and what's going to happen, or what are the options if we don't see some changes, or if we see negative changes in this aspect, because a lot of this is done by goodwill, and a lot of also high trust society, in a way that you also expect some reciprocity. And we had already in the past few horror stories where people really abused the open source and the developers, and some developers didn't take it lying down, and broke a lot of things because they got too fed up for being pretty much being they're being used and abused in many, you could say. So I'll leave it at that. Otherwise, again, that would be for another few hours of discussion.
Yeah. Okay, guys. And one more question. This is the last question. How has the open source contributed to your careers?
Well, for me, it landed me a few jobs. To speak of, for example, when I worked for Apify, that came because of my contribution, and also participation in meetups. So I went to the meetups in New York for Meteor, and at one of the meetups we had a visit from Prague, the CEO of Apify. We met, we talked, and when I came back to Prague, and once it was like one point I was looking for a job, and they reached out to me because they were looking for new people in their team, and I was available. So that was one of the jobs I got through open source. It's met a lot of amazing people through it as well, and in general it was really fun and pleasant experience.
And yeah, for me as well, it landed me my last job. So yeah, I'm really grateful for open source. And yeah, also made me a really better developer because I started like to getting to know how things works, and there's like no black magic in what you use day by day. So you can actually do these things if you look in the right way, and you can always try to do like a smaller version of whatever we want. So yeah, it it's been good to get involved with open source.
So I think that's it, guys. We spent 1 hour and 40 minutes here talking about all these topics and subjects. Oh yeah, you answered the chat. Okay. Um, Remember the live will be saved in YouTube and here in Twitch. We're streaming in both channels. Um, Let me send. Let me test one thing. The social medias of Meteor on chat. Yay, it works. The social media of Meteor here. You can follow us. And yeah, you can send your social here too if you want. Nicolas, you can here send too. Have no idea how. Oh, okay. Pronounce my old boss name. Okay. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for participating here today. Anything else to acrescentate, to say?
Oh, you're muted, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you
God.
very much. Thank you very much for having me on. Hopefully, I'll be back at some point. I have posted my GitHub and Twitter in the chat, so feel free to stop by and say hi. I also have my own show on Mondays, and on
Oh,
Friday
yeah.
I am on the Meteor Dispatches, which is a weekly news kind of news report of what's happening in the Meteor community. And just quickly back to my Monday shows. That one is a mix of Meteor and technical stuff and some other more philosophical stuff. For example, this upcoming Monday, I'll be talking about my literary universe that I'm creating. So stuff like that also makes it into my channel
I
stream as
watched
well.
this once and it's pretty fine. That's cool.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
And that's it, guys. See you. See you. Bye bye.
Bye.